good. Okay, we officially started. So we are started. Michael, we'll start with you. And
Michael Griffin, present.
Sue Polidura here.
Don Margison here.
Eva Boyce. Dee Dee Forte.
Susan Sterry.
Chris Benesick.
Okay. And then Suzanne and Donna. Donna sent all the past minutes and notes. Has everyone had a chance to review them just to
Yeah, I did.
give them the okay on that? So we have to vote on that, right? We're back to
Good, you
that.
could vote on them all. And just say-
Yes.
You have to make a motion to
Make a motion
approve
to
the minutes.
approve the minutes and list them off.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Celeste. Sorry, forgot. I have to learn how to look up there. Shout at us if you need anything or want to say something. I'm going to do like city council meetings do, and I'm going to take the rack card and put it to the top, if nobody minds, because it's been on our agenda for quite a while, and we need to make some decisions on it. The others shouldn't bog us down any, so if that's okay with everybody?
Sure.
Okay. So we do have the picture of the rack card, if Suzanne would be so nice as to put it up. And you have copies at your, so Eva, I'm just going to let you go ahead and talk about it, and then we can discuss it.
Okay, well, I learned a lot, and I'll try to encapsulate, and it is not as easy as I thought to put these things in places that I wanted to. In fact, I have a question for Suzanne Woodland. How do we get them downstairs? Does the city fall under the aegis of the people? Do they have a contract with someone to put them in?
I believe we have a contract with someone for the rack. You mean that's right out
Yes.
here? I will put that on my list to find out
Okay.
who it is.
Okay, so that brings me to the whole idea that if you want to put something in the why can't I think of what I mean? You know, the rest areas, yeah, that's what I mean. The rest areas or state things like that. Yeah, I knew that there would be, I would have to get approval, but I didn't realize how complicated it would be. And that the state has a contract with two different firms to supply, you give them the rack card and they keep track of it, and it costs money, and I put the amount in there. And you can look at it rather than go over it. It isn't exorbitant, but for a committee that, you know, is concerned about money, my personal opinion is I would love to see how it goes somewhere else for free before we start paying for it. But that's a committee decision. Now, in terms of free, I did go to the Chamber of Commerce, and they were absolutely wonderful there. And I also, they will take it. They will, we can put them in the kiosk, and the kiosk may be closed, but they said, the gentleman at the Chamber of Commerce said, you could do me a favor, take everything off that has nothing to do with Portsmouth and put yours on there. And I said, I can do that. The library will take them, and the Discover Center will take them. So I went to all those places, and that was no problem. I had a very good talk with the man at the Chamber, and I can't say he said, don't try to put them in places in town, but he wasn't optimistic. He said places like Colby's might take it, maybe the Friendly Toast, but he said, I really doubt our members, especially in the high-end stores that, you know, charge a lot for something you could get at Target for less, would probably not want to take it. So, so I reconnoitered, and I'm hoping that you will tell me. I took a walk, and I peeked in quite a few of the stores, and you know what? They're really not set up at their counters for things like a rack card. They're just not. But one of the ideas that I had that I wanted to go to the hotels, and Hampton didn't want it at their desk. But then I had another idea, which was, as you go through the floors in these places, they always have like a table by the elevator, the elevators. And I said, oh, I think that would be great. So then I priced there are acrylic rack card holders that you can get on Amazon. And they're like 10 for $35. And I thought, well, I'll just buy them. If we elect to go forward, I'll just buy them myself. And I think it would be helpful. And the chamber, I wish I remembered his name, I apologize, but he was a lovely man, that it would be better to go in with it in hand and say, this is what it likes. It is, because there are very specific rules to put them in places that the state operates. You can't ask for money, you can't ask for members. And so to go into a corporate place, it seems to me, they didn't want them at the desk, but I think I can talk them into putting them somewhere else, even by the coffee pot.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So I think if I go in there and say, I'll give you a holder, and here they are, can I put them on each floor on those nice little tables that you've got by the elevators? I think I can make some headway with that.
Can't hurt to ask.
Yeah, thanks. I have a suggestion. The historic houses would probably be willing to put them in there with a rack for free.
Okay.
I think the Jackson
Yeah.
House has a rack already in there in that little office area.
Yeah, and Warner House may also,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
bet they would take it.
Oh, is it?
They already have a rack, yeah.
Oh,
Brochures.
Okay.
oh, for the state? No, that's right. Eva will check into it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll write myself a
Yeah.
note.
Isn't that part of Discover Portsmouth? Some of those houses?
I don't know what
Yeah.
kind of, relationship. Oh, is that me or you?
It's you,
Sorry.
Amanda.
Oh, well, too bad, Amanda.
No, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Well, when I went, Discover Portsmouth was very helpful, and I just assumed, well, I never thought about the historic houses. and
Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
The Warner, the Moffett Ladd House, I was just,
Yes.
my wife and they
Yeah,
have.
they do. They do. I know where it is.
Yeah, you've seen that one.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get to them next. Now, some of them may be closed soon,
Yeah.
but
Oh, that's right.
yeah, but that's all right. If you get their permission, at least in the spring you can say, "Here I am with my rack, my rack cards and my little rack."
That's when the majority of people would be up for that anyway, huh?
Right.
Walking around in February in the cemetery.
Many of the local hotels have a place where you can put local
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Even as, not only in the downtown, I mean, the Sheraton does.
I
Some
didn't
of the
go
new,
there.
some of the new hotels do. The hotels over at the Circle more than likely do.
I didn't go down there either.
Yeah.
The roundabout too,
Yeah,
is a big
'cause-
tourist place,
Yeah.
right? So they used to have some things at the
'Cause
counter.
you want to attract people
But-
that are coming in as visitors.
But I did go to the supermarkets, and I struck out there completely. They don't contract with the people that the state contracts with, but they contract with others, and they were very, very unhelpful.
I think you're going to find
What
two.
about the Marriott, since it's right across from North Cemetery?
Yeah, I will. The only one I went to there was Hampton, but I will go to the other ones.
I think you're going to find, and I don't know this for sure, that's how it used to be, that all the hotels are contracted out with
Yes.
other groups, and
Yes.
I have no idea what the
Yeah,
payment is.
well, at the Hampton, they said, well, we have to check with corporate. We're not, because you get a kid behind the
Right.
counter,
Right.
and that's why,
So-
I think if I say that, can we do upstairs, on each floor? Can I put something? I might be able to
Right.
bypass corporate.
Well, my only suggestion is, again, because a million years ago, when my first daughter was only 2 years old, I did the route down in Hampton. And I worked for a specific company, and they're even bigger now. So but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
She's 36 or 37 now. So, but I would find out from the hotel what company it is and find out what the names of them,
Okay.
if there is. I mean, and someone might say it's corporate because, I don't know, maybe it's at that level now that their corporate is the one that okays.
Yes.
Because I know they will take rack cards out if it hasn't been part of their program.
Right.
So, because you pay for the, or you used to pay for the slots too. So if you were in the first slot, first row, more money, second row. So that's
Well,
a lot of stuff.
Even at the chamber, all of those places that have rack cards, they pay the chamber for that. So I was a little yes, they pay,
Oh,
but they will take ours
for free.
because it is Portsmouth. You know, if the ski places and stuff like that, they pay the chamber.
Oh, yeah.
And so because it's Portsmouth, they nicely said, we'll take it. So we don't have to pay there or the library or Discover Portsmouth. So that's a start.
Right.
And, you know, and
That gets a lot of foot traffic.
I was amazed that the guy said to me, I was there on a weekday, and he said, and the day before was a really beautiful day, and he said, we had 40 people in here yesterday. It was a weekday. So I thought, well, that's pretty good.
So do you have some prices to start with for the cost of the card?
You know, I have to tell you, I don't. And I
okay.
hate to admit that. But I never asked Stephanie what it would cost.
That's okay.
I never did.
Plenty of time.
I apologize, but I will find out.
Okay, that's fine. That's not an issue. Everybody's had a chance. I pulled up a couple dates for you for this, for editing the brochure. I found the beginning dates of some of the cemeteries that aren't listed on here, the dates, and also a correction of Cotton Cemetery. Cotton Cemetery isn't 1671, it's 17, it's 1721, wait a minute. Oh, Cotton, 1721.
Okay.
Elmwood was 1859. Point of Graves is fine. And going forward, I mean, we should start including Hall Cemetery. It is part of our
Which cemetery?
Hall Cemetery, yeah.
Where is that cemetery?
It's jammed in between South and Brackett Street over by, well, just down the road from here. And there is a right-of-way to the back of it, and it has been taken care of on and off by the city. But there are a number of revolutionary people buried in there, as well as other citizens that were prominent, like the Odeons and stuff like that, so.
Do you have a date for Hall Cemetery?
Hall Cemetery, 1789.
Okay. And with, which are the ones that we should probably eliminate?
Well, my question was for Suzanne, the African Burying Ground in the Memorial Park. I mean, we really don't have anything to do with that. And I don't have a problem of listing it here, but I'm just thinking we should reach out to somebody before we,
I'll take care of that.
okay,
Okay.
yeah.
I have a comment. I don't know if we can address that, but on the heading over here, I discovered the stories of patriots, preachers, political. It says who haunt Portsmouth Pass.
I saw that too. I circled it.
And that gives me the connotation of being Halloween
Or a ghost tour.
or a ghost tour.
Yeah.
Now, if we can just eliminate that, it will go philanthropists from Portsmouth Pass.
Yeah, I would agree that the haunt,
I would agree with that too, yeah.
Just change it to
seasonal and more,
Yep.
entertainment, like a ghost tour.
So most people agree with that?
Yes.
I agree with it. I'm sitting here trying to think of a more compelling word. I can see why she put in haunt, because she was probably looking for something.
Who put that in there?
Stephanie. Stephanie.
Stephanie
Oh, Stephanie.
Secord.
I mean, they found there
Yeah,
from
I think it's-
from
I think
Portsmouth.
from is the best thing.
From Portsmouth early foundings.
Or you can just say of Portsmouth's path.
Right, I sort of like all those Ps, it's sort of catchy.
Discover the stories of patriots, preachers, politicians, and philanthropists of Portsmouth's path.
Yeah.
You like- oh,
It's
okay.
cleaner and simple. You know?
Yeah, I'm with you. I like both.
Okay.
So Suzanne's going to check on, are they active again, just so that
We are working on it.
okay.
Yep.
So Suzanne's going to check about having the African burying ground on this brochure, which, again, I have no problem with that. Just don't want to,
Speaking of that, do they have, in their office there on Port Pleasant, do they have any type of displays? Do they do tours or anything like that that we can partner with?
There are tours. I think the Black Heritage Trail and
Yeah.
SAC, I think they both maybe are points of contact for those tours, but I could get more information and
and a rack card would be nice in there because there are a number of black families buried in our cemeteries too.
Yeah, Prince Whipple, other people.
Yeah. So Suzanne's going to do that. Eva's going to,
You know,
Knock it
I called a couple of places, printers, there's one on Islington. I called them and I don't have my notes in here. I know Stephanie can get it cheaper, which is why I didn't,
right, that's fine,
But-
just so that we have a,
I know I got a price from them, but I don't have it.
that's okay. If the city can get it for less money and good quality for us, then that's,
Okay.
Yeah, they probably already may have a contract with a printer.
Yeah.
we do
So-
have
Yeah.
regular relationships, and we do have, some of our printers are actually really good printers, so we may even be able to do it in-house, so I can explore that.
okay.
Thank you.
And so then, is there anything else we should discuss about this before we go on to the next one? I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, okay.
I know, that'd be
Thank you.
good.
Could I just,
Yeah.
sorry, thank you. Yeah. If you're going to make edits, could you send me a clean version or a cleaner version? And that way, when I kind of follow up on these couple of things, I'll have the latest and greatest.
Thank you, I will.
Okay.
Great, thank you so much. This, I know how much work this, well, we all do know how much work this was, so. And it's a good start for getting our name out there. So let's go on to deterrence for vandalism in the cemeteries. I put this up at the top because, as we all know, there was damage done in Union North Cemetery. A few people that I've run into on the streets and received some emails and about the situation, their first thought was putting in surveillance cameras for live ones to monitor what's going on. So what I did is I talked to the police. Well, first I talked to Suzanne for 2 minutes and Peter Rice was there. So we got Peter Rice and the legal together at one time. And that's really not, it's not on the top of the list of helping deter vandalism in there, and along with the cost. So then I went downstairs, not that day, but I spoke to Lieutenant Small from the police department, and he said that they do go down there during the night. Do they have 3 shifts a day for the police? I think they have 3 shifts. That at night, if at all possible, they'll go down a couple times, but they definitely go down once a night. He said that the police officers actually get out of the car and walk that back strip where the problem seems to be. He said what would help them would be the city has approached Richie and Sean Mahoney, the salt pile people that are right there.
GSM? See what GSM?
Right, yeah.
Granite State Minerals?
Sean Mahoney, yeah, Mahoney's on it. And what they have gotten permission to do is there's some sort of trespass-like ticket. So when they go down through there, because they go all the way through that road that eventually will be a greenway, they give out tickets to people, and they judge, I don't know what the guidelines are, saying, you're trespassing, and then they put the notice back at the police station. So I didn't get into, like, if they go down and they get 3 trespassing tickets, what happens? But that's in place, and he said that's been of value. Then I reported that to Suzanne, and we weren't sure that that's all private land, if we could do the same thing in the city cemetery. So
Yeah, so what we're, so what we're looking at is maybe some just dawn to dusk signage.
which I put in the packet.
Because that really sets up, people have notice right from the get-go about what the conditions are, and that will then allow the police to take whatever action they deem appropriate, depending on what's going on there, because people aren't supposed to be there. So we're looking into that.
Dusk starts at like 4 p.m. in the wintertime.
Yeah, that's why it's usually dawn to dusk, because it's the darkness which is the issue.
Rather than saying 6 and it's dark at 4, right?
Right.
I put copies of signs in that little packet that you have, yeah.
So that's an option we're looking at right now. And I will confirm that we don't think cameras are the solution to this problem. We also talked about trimming some of the bushes along the one edge there where, it's just easier
points
to,
out in the back, yeah.
where it's easier to be hidden, so to speak. So we're looking at all of those options, and hopefully by the time we hit the next meeting, I'll be able to give you a further report back. But we're exploring that, and, we can do trespass notices, but it's a lot easier when you start with signage. So we're looking at that.
And the other thing the police lieutenant said was they're always going to use discretion. They're not going to go in there and just, if someone happens to be walking around and it's obvious they're looking for a headstone or something, and they're not there for mischievous reasons, they might talk to them, but they're not going to harass people going in and out that are there. And again, it would be after sunset. It wouldn't be anything prior to that.
As you all know, I like looking for headstones at 2 in the morning by flashlight, so I don't want to be bothered.
Well, I don't know. We brought up, there are a lot of people that look for things for a lot of different reasons. So while we're on the subject of signage, I also included the no dogs in the cemetery. I don't know how we feel about if we're going to end up with too many signs, but I've been to North Cemetery a lot lately, and there's
People walk
always
their dogs in there a lot.
and there is also a lot of dog poop there. It's one thing for your dog to come through and pee, but to not pick up after your dog because it's a cemetery. And also, my family and I cleaned Pleasant Street graves on Sunday, because that's where our 6 great-grandparents are buried. He fought in the Revolutionary War, so I twisted my family's arms with threats like, I won't watch your kids if you don't come and do this for me.
That did it.
So, and it didn't take us long. My grandkids came too. They were ages, and a niece and nephew. They from 13 to me, and we did it in less than 2.5 hours. And the kids overcleaned, if anything else. I had to drag them away from. It's not going to be white today. Just trust me. You've gotten everything off. It was like a magic show for some of them watching all this grime. So, but my point was, being in there, I feel like if we're going to put up cemetery dusk to dawn, we should do it in at least those three, Pleasant, Point of Graves, and North and Union, because I found beer bottles in there, shots. There's always people walking their dogs through there. Whenever I'm there, it doesn't make any difference. We had like 3 different people walk through with dogs, and one person did let their dog go, but he did pick up after it. But I don't know if that was because we were there or not. But anyway, so I don't know. Something to think about and include the next time when we talk about signs for not trespassing, but dusk to dawn and no dogs allowed in the cemetery. So, and the other thing we might think about.
Would you do this for all cemeteries? Or just North?
I wouldn't do it for Cotton and Elmwood because you already have signs posted up there, no dogs in there. So, and it seems to have worked over the years. I rarely ever see a dog in there. I can't remember the last time I saw a dog in there. So, and Hall is buried in the back, so, and that needs to be propped up first. So it would be those 3. Point of Graves, Pleasant, or for Union and North cemeteries. And my only other thing with this is I went to the Historic District meeting last night because 2 of our graveyards projects are going on either side of them. And while I was there, the chairman, is it I forget his name, Mr. Wyckoff, is it? John Wyckoff? Mm-hmm. Anyway, the chairman of the HDC approached me afterwards. He lives on North Mill Pond, and he highly recommended that if we weren't going to do real surveillance cameras, that we should do the fake ones. So that was also brought to my attention that we can discuss further on down. And my only concern about surveillance cameras, well, A, there's nobody to watch them, nobody will if they're real, but also if they get put up, they can be taken down by anybody too. So that's just something else to think about when we decide going forward.
Yeah, no, I think it's signage, and then the other issue is the fence in the southwest corner, which is totally down now and open. I saw a guy ride his bike through it today, coming down that path, and then rode right into the graveyard with his bike, and then headed down towards that receiving vault where those benches are, and was drinking. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, he was drinking?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What time was this?
12 o'clock, 11:30 or 12, 11:30, you know.
Do we have to post no alcohol in the cemetery?
But they have those benches right over there, so
Yeah.
it's a nice day out today.
Maybe they should come
Having a
out.
malt liquor, you know.
It's public.
Looking at the pond, you know.
You're not supposed to drink in public, right? Isn't that already a law? Well, I guess we
But that's where you see all the
No open
collections
containers.
Yeah, you know, of cans. But I think that fence in the back, and obviously I know that there's, issues with the survey, which we've talked about, would be very big, because that's just a point of egress that no one sees or monitors coming in from the train tracks.
Yeah,
Ritchie Lumber and that whole, for the
Yeah.
encampments back there.
we can run it past, I can talk to Corin about it and see who would fix that. That's not going to be in Corin's department. I'd have to find out. That would be just DPW
It'd
and
be easy
facilities,
to
right?
fix that, yeah, you're not like putting up
Very
a new
easy to
edifice.
fix.
Yeah.
Very easy to
I'll add that to the list.
Thank you.
I mean,
The little yellow list.
I'm sure I could go out there with my son and like do it, if I had cover. It's only one to come by that day.
No, well, yeah, that'll be the day the police come down during the day, because it's a
Right.
slow day. That's all right. And one more thing about this, the clearing away of any brush and material down there. Peter Britz did come down. We walked it. There are some invasives down in there, and there is some, dead wood that we can cut out without having to get permits, because it's shoreland. So Corin is going to, probably next month sometime when Strawberry Bank, Prescott Park is done, send a crew over there, mark off all of the invasives, mark off the deadwood, and then have it reviewed again to make sure that's what we can go ahead and trim and get out of there. Because if nothing else, just for environmental reasons, so before some of the stuff gets out of control. So, does anybody have any questions or any more comments, and we'll come back to this next month and see what everybody's found out.
Susan?
Yep.
Let me just follow up on the discussion of dogs in cemeteries, because dogs tend to be a sensitive issue in local government. So it would be helpful to know if this committee has a strong or unified recommendation, because ultimately, about whether to bring forward a proposal to limit dogs in the 3 cemeteries you just mentioned. So I'm asking because I think really it would depend if this committee had a strong, view and a vote to recommend that limitation, then we could take it up further for consideration. I'm just sensitive. We try to be careful.
Should we make a motion to that effect?
If that would be
that's-
appropriate,
yeah.
if you guys are ready to do that or have some discussion.
I'll make a
about it.
motion that we send a request to the city regarding signage to prevent dogs from being walked in that facility
In our
in our historic cemeteries. Now, if someone seconds that, then we can open the floor for discussion.
I second it.
All right, the floor is open for discussion.
If the dog is leashed and it's city property, I wouldn't go down that road. I don't know who's going to enforce it.
Right, if you have an unenforceable statute.
What, oh, I'm sorry, Dee, go ahead.
Sure. Aren't dogs prohibited by one of the city ordinances already? Yeah, because like Prescott Park has a sign that says no dogs allowed in accordance to
Could be.
something,
Could be.
something, something. And so I don't know if.
Pierce Island.
Yeah, yeah.
I think those apply to parks, don't they?
What's that?
I think that law applies to parks. I
Just
don't know
parks. Okay.
if, cemeteries would be, I don't think they would be considered parks.
I didn't know if it was like all city property.
Yeah. No, I don't. I'll see if I can look it up while we continue to talk. But I don't believe off the top of my head that we actually limit dogs from the cemeteries. So it goes into, we do have a leash law, here in Portsmouth, and there are exceptions to that in certain places in the city. But that's fairly narrow, as if any of you have dogs, And then we have the dog park. So I'll see if I can get an answer, but I'm thinking the answer is there is no limit right now, other than it would have to be on a leash. So I just wanted to make sure that, you had a good conversation about this, and if you feel strongly about it, then as you did,
Yeah.
put it in a motion.
Yeah, if I may amend the motion to say that, to put made the regulations in the cemetery to be aligned with the city regulations to other areas where, people congregate.
Like I said, most of our public places, you can bring a dog, they just need to be on a leash. And what I thought I heard, and that's why I wanted to tease it out, is that there was thought of not having dogs at all, at least in the 3 major cemeteries of Point of Graves, Pleasant, and the North Union Cemetery.
May I say, could we have a sign but change the nature of it? Could the sign say something like, "Help us preserve our history, please curb your dog"?
We certainly have a requirement that you pick up pest waste, and maybe what we look at, if you wanted as a first step, see if we could add signage reminding people to pick up their pet waste.
Who
That's all right. That's what I was going to say, or even strongly worded, it's the law, pick up after your dog. Okay.
Why don't I can explore that if you want before you take a formal action. If you want me to get some of those, get some more background, or like I said, I was just trying to tease out what I can do for you here and where you really want to go.
Yep, we can table that until pending on your findings.
Okay, I will do that. I'll try and get a list of where it's allowed and kind of the limitations, and then talk to Public Works and see how easy or difficult it would be to put up some signage in various places.
Yep, we can
Okay.
make an item on the next agenda.
Okay.
No, okay, so we're on with that. I agree with that. So next is CIP, and you all have a copy of what Suzanne submitted for us, capital improvement, and the budget that I put together with prices that would be good for today, or 2 weeks ago, but anyway. Our final thought, talking to Suzanne and Peter, I've been fortunate. Peter's been in the building quite a bit, so I've been able to snag him for 5 minutes or here and there. I actually, a little story is I made an adding mistake. Instead of 100,000, I put 1 million. And so at one point it's at $1.3 million. That caught his attention, so he did sit down real quick. So these are, I got estimates or word of mouth through people that are in the trade. So anything that's here, I've spoken to, and Dee's spoken to the gentleman about the wrought iron replacement. So, these are legitimate as far as what it could cost, if not more in the future. They're not in any specific order. We could go ahead and put them in some order for further discussion when the CIP comes to public meeting. We could, I'm correct then, right? There's a couple more times that we could change these numbers or interject what we think is most important. So at the end, what I thought would be the best, just to get it in the system, the pipeline, was where it says on the front, additional detail and background if needed. Mm-hmm. I gave them options. I didn't want them, I thought this was a compromise, let's just put it all out there. Well, this is really how much it could cost. We're not asking you for this. However, just so that you're aware, going down the line, we're going to be back asking you. Then there were 3 options. So, again, $50,000 would finish up the seawall down at North that would do the second phase. $30,000 would start replacing the wrought iron fencing in Union Cemetery, which is sort of the focal point. Even just replacing the wrought iron in there without cleaning the headstones would make a tremendous difference in what it looks like today. And then $15,000 would cover 3 projects that they're all equally important as far as restoring the cemeteries. So I guess the definition of important would be determined by who we're talking to and what money we're requesting. So, and that certainly would cover, cleaning up Hall Cemetery, wall repairs at Pleasant, because right now it's not in any shape. To take it down, there will be nothing left. So when we get to that point, just covering it with a lime mortar may be the way we end up going, and that wouldn't cost us, $5,000, more than $5,000. And then I don't know if any of you have been down by Cotton and Elmwood and walked behind between the field and the stone wall that was once up there.
The erosion? on that
The
steep
erosion
hill,
and the missing sections of the wall that was originally there. That tree line, that slope is just a disaster, so before anything could be done up there, would have to be cleaned up. So, and that certainly could be done professionally at $2,500 a day is the day rate, and, could get someone to come in, and might take them 2 days to do it, and it'll be over and done with and ready for, to start working on the wall up there to help prevent the erosion, so. Any comments on what we as a committee submitted? So,
Are these estimates, these costs, do we have an estimate
No.
attached to it, like written?
no, nobody wants to do estimates at this point in time because these are projects that wouldn't even start until next spring if we were lucky, or even further out. And with the biggest issues with everybody is supply chain, getting materials, the cost of those materials when they get here, and everybody is desperate for labor. So I think they're a good starting point. When we get closer and we have some money, then, we'll
I was
nail.
just wondering if that 408 is realistic or it's a lowball, number.
Truthfully, I can't tell you. I think it's
I think we started
probably
with that number
low.
and worked backwards.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think,
which is fine. We discussed that last meeting.
yeah, it's low in reality compared to what might happen going down the line, but we have to start someplace. So-
He didn't want you to put the geotechnical.
That was the second thing. I didn't put that on there because we got the approval for it.
Yep, so Peter and I are working with Weston and Sampson. We may have to tweak their proposal a little bit because I don't think they fully factored in the statutory limitations with regard to, doing geotechnical work, in a burial or right near a burial site. So we just need a little more coordination on that. But we've put them on notice that we're going to try and get that pulled together, and we give people proper notice.
Right.
They may also learn some things from the Prescott Park work that they're going to do on October 17th. So that may help inform us as well. But we've got enough funds to do certainly that scope of work, and it may get a little bit tweaked as we figure out how to coordinate that in a way that makes the state archaeologist and happy. And but
Yeah, part of their proposal was using IAC for their archaeologists, so.
Yep.
Yeah, that just happened last week, so that's in the pipeline now, too. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. And again, this is just a starting point. And when is the first, did they already start reviewing any of the citizen CIPs that have come in?
So I think staff, depending on, which bucket they fell into, has started to review them internally, and we're trying to work with the mayor to figure out how to, I think we got like 160 or something different CIP requests. How to work with them in the process in a way that people understand what happened to that request. Was it, is it really a project that we already have on the schedule? Or is it something new that the policymakers, will want to consider? So we're trying to figure out the most efficient way to look at those, and if they're not getting built into the CIP budget that the city presents, or CIP program document that the city presents, then how to explain and share why it's not in there. So there's a transparency to that, and then people can obviously go to public hearings and say, oh, I think this project should be in it, or it should be sooner than you've scheduled it, if it's scheduled for year 3 as opposed to next year. So we're working on that process right now.
And of those 161, were those all, like you said, city projects, citizen projects, or?
Those were just the requests from outside city government.
Are we sort of like a lost, not a lost child, but are we in an enigma in the sense of committees and stuff like that?
We're building an awareness.
Well, yes, we are. I went to the HDC last night, and I got up and spoke and plugged us, and just, transparency. I had said, because I listened to everything, there were 2 projects, adjoining our cemeteries. I finally got up towards the end, because that's how long it took, and said, I hear people talk about historic this and historic that, and I said, well, the newly formed cemetery committee has the most historic properties in the community, and some people just sort of like, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. And so, and I was nice and said, I know this is new, but we have a committed, nothing's been done for 100 years in this city except reply to major things that have happened and have to take care of it. So going forward, and I said shamelessly, just putting it out there, that the city needs to be aware that we're now a part of all of this too, and that, and actually some of the things we fall under them, because the certified local government, it only goes to historic district, but because we have historic cemeteries, and I asked Nick, we fall under not their supervision, but their review and things like that. And I said, there aren't any guidelines about cities and historic cemeteries. And I said, we, to some extent, fall under you because of the CLG program. And I explained that because Nick did present it last night. Their committee is going to review it, and then one of the November City Council meetings, he will present it to them to be okay that we can become that. But, he's already asked that a number of people would speak up for it. Not that anybody anticipates that it won't get passed because there's no money involved. It's just the commitment to maintain those rules or standards, which we do already. So he did a thorough review, and we meet all the standards. It's like a 50-page document that he had to go through, and it was, 500 questions. Do you do this? Do you do that? But it not only does it open the door for us to elevate the cemetery to a higher level when reaching for grants, it also helps the Historic District Committee too. So there are all kinds of programs and other things, training and stuff like that, that Nick, some of his people had asked about that. So, it's all there because it's state offered. So that's where that stands. And then, and I just said, hey, we're here, don't forget us. So.
Do they focus just more on private property to make sure that private citizens maintain, whatever integrity and
Yes.
property lines and?
Well, not so much property lines, but they get down to the nitty-gritty of
Yeah.
what kind of windows you have. But they're
It
also.
seems like it seems like what they talk about is much more about private.
No, they're
property.
they're big. Any of the new buildings you see going up in town all go through,
Isn't that private?
Yeah, that's
well, I mean,
Private.
corporate, yeah,
Private, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, it's more like an architectural review. It seems like they spend most of their time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, aesthetics. Yeah.
Yes, what would blend in with the
Yeah.
city, absolutely. But everything does go through them if it's in the historic district and it's going to have any kind of construction, whether it's just a removal of something or putting in new windows,
So
they have their hands on it.
So would it be helpful for us to be aligned with them to like get funds versus being like that redheaded stepchild you were referring to?
No, we're doing them a favor by getting this certified, we're doing them a favor, and we can continue and go for grants. We don't need them for that. But we needed them to get certified.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sounds a little confusing.
Right. No, we need the historic district to become a certified local government so that we, as a cemetery committee, can apply for grants. We couldn't apply without the permission of historic district.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have the power. We're just, yeah, so that's in the pipeline. Any other questions about the CIP? We'll just stay on top of it until public time comes.
So the report that we reviewed, there was all these particular items, the estimated cost, your original handout, 2013, was it?
Oh, yes, these,
Did you factor?
yes, these are all, that's what I started with, and yes, the money is more than what the 2013 estimates were.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's why I took
Well,
the,
we'll fall back to that, I think, at some point in discussion.
oh, absolutely. And well, I put right on there, I believe, that was my thing. Completion of the 2013 existing conditions assessment report and restoration plan. And that's what this is.
All right.
It's all based on that. That's our Bible, or whatever you want to call it.
You're doing some work at Harmony Grove, right, on, when I walked through there, on the iron, wrought iron. Is that something that's done by the cemetery? Is that like local families are repairing, like the Victorian type, iron around some of the plots?
Yeah, it's technically the family's responsibility to do that.
The family's responsibility, yeah.
I thought you were referring to the walls.
No, not the walls. When I saw the iron fixtures, I know there's a lot in Harmony Grove.
Yeah.
Proprietors over there.
We'd like to see them go away as often as we can.
Yeah, just because of the upkeep, yeah.
Yeah.
Time is getting short, so I'd like to skip down to other business, and it basically will be just an update of what is going on every place. The DAR on October 11th is going to do a headstone cleaning. That's been all set up with Cornyn. We will be there at 9:30, so if any of you have
You going back to the North Cemetery?
North Cemetery, yeah. North is just easier. Well, I mean, we agreed that, focus on that because of the 400s, so.
When is this?
This
yeah.
Tuesday at 9:30. And I told them the only thing that will prevent us will be if it's raining. If not, the temperature isn't an issue right now, so we'll be there as long as it's not raining. And
What's their head count now? 8 or 9?
9.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Don't overwork them.
Trust me, I'm a DAR member. I'm afraid that if I did that, they'd take away my membership.
Going down and can't give up.
I know. But there are some younger people in there, and they are bringing kids. DAR has a kids branch here, and they are they're not kids, they're teenagers. If they have the day off, they're going to come and help too. And the teenagers make up for some of the age involved. So that's on the agenda. I already mentioned that I threatened my family, and Pleasant Street is cleaned.
How many headstones were in Pleasant?
76.
Wow.
And we even cleaned the front of the Wendell tomb. Needs to be looked at again. There were bricks coming off the top, and around the door, there's starting to be some pretty big gaps around the door. Nobody could get in, but certainly mice and everything else, and some of those gaps can get in there. But we cleaned it. It was really dirty. I was surprised, and the kids spent a long time cleaning the headstone and the door and even the bricks. The D2 works great on the bricks. They really shined it up. So you almost couldn't read the name. It was that dirty. So they did that. Certified local government, I filled you in on that. Union and North cemeteries, we have actual certificates that are signed by, governors or what have you. And I spoke to Katie at the reference library, and she said that they would find some place to hang those if, that came. I just think it's a shame that they're sitting in a file here at City Hall. And again, it will give profile to the cemeteries. So,
Well, I know where the recent one is. The one
Right,
we
I
just
don't-
got for Union.
right.
Like had Donna give you, or someone give you a copy of it, but I have it.
Yeah, no, I know you do.
Yeah, do you want me to send it to the library?
Yeah, that would be great. And then we
do
can
that. Put it
research.
on the list.
We can research where the national one is. That would be great. And speaking of Katie, she had a meeting this morning with Alan Brady, who is the head of technology here at the library, and the company that's designing the database for us. They came to the actual design of the database, and they're going to run some tests, and Katie's part of that. So, but it's right on board, on track, I should say.
Wow, great.
That, and I'm also going to approach the DAR ladies if they want to do some transcribing, that we could have, I don't know, some sort of transcribing party at the library, and we can have tea and whatever
I
while
would be
they.
happy to do some of that too, because I do data entry for a living.
Oh, great, Celeste. Yeah, I'll include you. And Katie was on board with that. And I was just thinking the cemetery, at the library would be good for a lot of these people, because if there's questions or what have you, then there'll be somebody there to help them and navigate it through. And the actual books are there, which I think will be easier for a lot of people than trying to use the list, look on your page on the computer and then go back and try to transcribe everything. So that's in the works.
Who is the president of the DAR these days?
Oh, well, the chapter is Lynette Weingard. She's a ranger chapter. There's a state president too, so, but that's who, she just came in this year, so she's on board with this. They haven't done a lot of community work in the last few years, so they're looking for things to add. They report everything, volunteer work and stuff like that, so they're looking for projects to do, and this is right up their alley with the Revolutionary. Oh gosh, then certified. I think that's it. That's it. I can't believe it. We didn't get to adopt a project or adopt a headstone or the kids' events for the 400th, but we can put that on for the next, we still have some time on that.
Could you enlighten our group as to the activity that took place in Harmony Grove relative to a family plot that was
Oh, sure.
restored?
Yes. John Lord, who has come down, he's part of New Hampshire Old Graveyard Association. He and another member came down in Harmony, and I went over and watched, and they straightened up headstones, and they actually dug up 2 headstones and took them, and that's fine, because he had the owner's, the family's permission, and they were the really tall ones. They were like 3, almost 4 feet tall. They were buried as deep as they were tall, above ground, and they were snapped right in half. So they took them, and they're putting them back together, and then they'll bring them back and reinsert them.
That's cool.
But the point I think Michael's getting at is they dug and dug and dug, even straightening up the smaller headstones. They had to go down, a foot, sometimes 1.5 feet. And for the ones that were buried way down, they were down there 3 feet. And we can't do that as volunteers in the cemetery. For the biggest reason being,
Can't disturb the ground, right?
well, yes, you can't disturb the ground without having someone there. And it is a misconception. Maybe it's only 3 times out of 100 that digging around the top of a headstone that you might find a bone or something like that, but it does happen, especially in the older cemeteries. And I think equally as important is we have to maintain a relationship with the state. Most of our projects going forward, the retaining walls and the walls even down at Point of Graves, all of those are involved with the state. It's not just us. So, and I don't even know. I'm sure, well, Peter, I already know Peter Rice is not happy that, insistent that we don't do that. So I learned a lot because they went down like 3 feet. And there was nobody looking for remains. I mean, nothing.
This was initiated by the families that, hey, they want this fixed?
Yeah, I originally got an
Yeah.
email of the family from Australia.
Yeah, and his family's.
wow.
Yeah, so, and remains don't have to be big chunks either, so, of whatever. So that's all the more reason that when we go forward about trying to straighten up these headstones, I mean, we have to proceed, or I would like to see us proceed with caution. Because if the state ends up being mad at us and having Peter Rice mad at us because we're taking on something incorrectly, sort of defeats the purpose of this committee. I mean, because that's a big chunk of what we want to do eventually is straighten up the stones. So,
Is there any kind of training or certification that we can get so we can increase the level of trust from the city and other parties that, yeah, this person had been trained to do this and they know what to do if they find remains, and there is a level of trust in there that would make it easier to go and do that kind of work?
I asked that question way back when we first started this committee. There is archaeologist training in the state, but it doesn't apply to us. It applies to anybody that like works for the state or city type thing, is how he put it to me. And I didn't look into it any further. And that was from the head archaeologist, Mark Doppler. So
I'm thinking there's some work that could be done and guidelines in place to, if you get to this point and you find this, then this is when you elevate it to an archaeologist. But you can do some work, and unless these parameters happen, you can do work, but you don't have to, unless there are certain things that you find that will trigger the need to have an archaeologist.
no, I understand what you're saying. And I reached out to Mark about 3 weeks ago, and I never heard back from him. And I didn't do any follow-up, but I certainly can, because as I said, there is a training on, and I have my notes someplace, but I will look into that portion of it again. I actually asked him, could he come down? Could we make an appointment? Can you come down? And
As long as we're not perceived as some people digging a hole, that we can be trained to make everybody aware that, yeah, we know within the parameters, we know what we're doing. We're not just digging.
right.
And we know how to stop and when to get other people involved. Maybe that's a reassurance a lot of other people in the town would take.
And as I said, I'll put it on the list, and really, I love.
I wouldn't mind taking a training from the state archaeologist.
I know. Well, we could always ask for archaeologists to donate their time, which is a whole nother thing. If I need to sit down with Suzanne and I just haven't figured out a way, or maybe we can do a subcommittee of it, of how to honor people that, or recognize people who are donating their time to us. I mean, there's no place to put up, you know, like this archaeologist came and donated 30 hours to this project. Where do we put the recognition for that? Marriott Hotel donated $3,000 to replace the fence. Where do we put that recognition for longer than just a couple weeks online? So that's what part of the fundraising or gifts in kind, what have you. I mean, that's another approach. I mean, I rack my brains out all the time trying to figure out.
Maybe at some point we just have a ceremony and we recognize the people who could be in a place like this. We just have some hors d'oeuvres. Recognize them and then put everybody on the paper.
I mean,
that may
it
have-
could be,
lot that
it could
she's
be that
talking
simple. I mean,
Yeah.
going down the line, we can do it.
Because then you would put them someplace and they, you know,
This high.
on the city website and papers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Any other, so I will look into that. Anybody else have
no,
a
I was up there
comment?
Tuesday.
We can certainly repair headstones starting in
Went
the
up there on
spring.
Tuesday.
That's not a,
Yep.
since I've been watching all of this, we can certainly get trained to repair headstones. It's not that complicated, but it's heavy work. So, again, we,
Like cementing them back, things that are broken.
yeah, or applying aluminum siding, not siding, but strips, and so it's not just, and some things, even if you glue them, they have to be, what you call it, in a vise, you know, for a while. So it's just not, I'm not saying we can't do it 100%. We just need to keep on working how we can get it done for the least amount of money and safely, and have good relationships with everybody. So that's all at this point. Any other? This was a great meeting. We got a lot done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of important stuff. And the biggest thing I've learned, I don't know about the rest of you, because you've all been here since the beginning, it all takes a lot of time.
It does.
It takes a lot of time. So the more, it seems like we have a lot in the pipelines, but we sort of have to get stuff done. So, and I think we're managing what's in the pipelines pretty well, so. And thank you for all your help at this point. It's been a year,
And
so.
for you, you do a tremendous amount, so
Yeah.
you really do. It's
I'm
really
glad
the-
to do it.
It's the engine that makes us go.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
I don't know why I became so passionate about it, but I did. So I can't undo it. So I'm glad to do it. And I, you know, and all of you are helping, which is really important. So anyway. All right, so I need an adjournment since we're back to being official. again.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in
Meeting
favor?
is ended.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.